Listen, I get it. You're probably watching this video thinking that I'm the biggest idiot in the world for telling you to trade for CeeDee Lamb right now, because obviously he's a superstar. Who would want to give him up? But let me break it down. We're already 3 whole weeks into the 2025 NFL season, and you know if your fantasy lineup needs adjusting. You don't want to fall too far behind the standings, so having a hole in your starting lineup, a player that's really a liability to the rest of your starters scoring points, is not a good way to climb your way back up the leaderboard. Trading for players that are already super productive in terms of fantasy points is great, but you know what's even better? Trading for players whose value is going to increase over the rest of the season. That's the best way to add value to your overall fantasy roster and compete for a championship in your fantasy football league. We're going to go over 3 players you should buy and sell ahead of week 4 of the fantasy football season. Vikings running back Jordan Mason was one of our buys last week. I hope you traded for him while you had the chance, because his value has now skyrocketed. That was the perfect example of trading for a player before a breakout performance. That way you have them before the trade value increases dramatically. Jordan Mason had a fantastic week 3 performance, and if you already have him on your team, that's a big time asset to have going forward for a playoff push. Making moves like this can realistically save your fantasy football season. Even if you're 0-3, don't give up, you're still in it. And you should make these trades before you wish you had a couple weeks down the line. Start off, let's go over a few players I think you should buy now through a trade. They're likely to improve statistically over the next couple of weeks, and if I'm right, you're going to be really glad you traded for them. Starting off, we have TreVeyon Henderson, rookie running back for the New England Patriots. It was a pretty simple storyline in week 3 versus Pittsburgh. The Patriots lost because of how many times they fumbled the football. Ramondre Stevenson, the starting running back, had 2 fumbles. Antonio Gibson, the backup running back and kick returner, had a fumble himself. So the running back position is definitely a question mark for the New England Patriots, but the good news is they spent a second-round pick on a fantastic rookie running back out of Ohio State. That player was TreVeyon Henderson, who had just a fantastic preseason, including a kickoff return for a touchdown and several other massive moments. We even saw in that week 3 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers that I just talked about, where all the running backs fumbled, TreVeyon Henderson set a season-high mark in snap percentage with 46%. So it's obvious as the game went on, the coaching staff lost trust in those other running backs and put more trust in Henderson. This is how I predicted the backfield would work before the season. I thought that Ramondre Stevenson would start off decent and then have a couple fumbles like he did last year and kind of lose the backfield to the younger TreVeyon Henderson. We'll see if that's how all this plays out, but TreVeyon Henderson already has 30 touches through 3 weeks, 11 of them being through the air. That bodes very well for his PPR value. He's getting a ton of receptions, and this is the perfect time to trade for him because he's been sharing snaps, he's been on and off the field a ton, so his value is pretty low in the eyes of fantasy managers, but I'm betting it's about to shoot right up. Again, like I said, he has elite potential as a PPR weapon. He's such a good receiver out of the backfield. He can play on those passing downs. He's such a great pass blocker. He also has a 100% catch rate so far on those 11 targets, meaning he's caught every single one of them. So New England has no reason to not put him on the field even more. He may only be averaging 3.4 yards per carry, but if Ramondre Stevenson is losing them games, I'm willing to bet the Patriots are willing to give him a larger sample size to prove his worth and his efficiency on the ground. We already know how valuable he can be through the air. TreVeyon Henderson is so good, but on the ground he can be that home run threat, capable of ripping off 50-yard runs at any point in the game. And the Patriots could really use that big play presence in their offense right now. Drake May is a fantastic quarterback, and I think he's going to develop into a great player, a franchise player for them in the years to come. But Henderson really has the chance to be that franchise running back. I can see the vision. I hope you can too. You should trade for him in fantasy while his value is super cheap. And after we recorded the highest snap percentage of his career in week 3, he's a definite buy for me in fantasy football ahead of week 4. Next up, we have Trey Benson, second-year running back for the Arizona Cardinals. It was unfortunate to see veteran running back James Conner suffer a season-ending ankle injury in the 3rd quarter of the team's loss against the San Francisco 49ers. But it does leave the door open for Benson to become the main guy in this backfield. He was already getting way more volume than in his rookie season, and especially as a receiver. Just to go through real quick, in 13 games as rookie, he only saw 6 targets. In 3 games as a sophomore running back, he's already seen 11. Not to mention he is also averaging 6 yards per carry. That's just some ridiculous efficiency. And now that he's in line for a massive boost in volume, he could be one of the most valuable players on your fantasy roster if you trade for him right now, before people realize how high his ceiling truly is. The Cardinals have been able to run the ball pretty effectively over the past couple of seasons. I think Benson could continue that trend. Even though they don't have James Conner, I think Benson is a very worthy replacement if he can reach that ceiling. It's important to make a move on him now if you have a hole at the running back position. If he gets the proper volume, Trey Benson could finish realistically within the top 15 or even higher among running backs this season in fantasy football. I understand that his efficiency may change with a larger chunk of volume, but it's pretty encouraging to see what he's been doing so far. I'm excited to see where Benson can take his 2025 season, and while it sucks that James Conner got injured, I am very hopeful for Benson's fantasy value going forward in the next few weeks. Next up, we have CeeDee Lamb. Everybody knows him, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, I get it. You're probably watching this video thinking that I'm the biggest idiot in the world for telling you to trade for CeeDee Lamb right now, because obviously he's a superstar. Who would want to give him up? But let me break it down. Lamb suffered a high ankle sprain, and the Cowboys lost to the Bears on Sunday. That means he can miss anywhere from 3 to 6 games. That means his value is at an all-time low with the injury, and if any 1 and 2 or 0 and 3 fantasy managers in your league are hungry for some wins in the playoff race, they may be willing to deal their injured star receiver at a discount for a player that's playing next week. If you're 1 and 2 and 0 and 3 and things aren't looking good, you may not be able to afford to wait for CeeDee Lamb to come back in multiple weeks. You can use that as perfect leverage to acquire CeeDee Lamb for less than he would have been worth a week ago. And here's the best part. Everything was going perfect for Lamb before the injury. You have nothing to worry about when he gets back. I mean, 24 targets, 16 receptions, 222 receiving yards, really through just 2 games. Those are numbers of an elite fantasy receiver. All signs are pointing to Lamb putting together another fantastic year before the injury. And I still think he will whenever he gets back. And if you can acquire an elite asset in Lamb for less than usual, go ahead and pull the trigger and wait for him to come back. It'll be totally worth it. Having patience in fantasy football is more important than many realize. However, if one of the managers in your fantasy league is impatient to get back in that win column, they may be willing to deal Lamb for less than usual. Next, we can move on to the 3 players I think you should sell, trade away from your team ahead of week 4, starting off with Chuba Hubbard, running back for the Carolina Panthers. Now, I absolutely love Chuba Hubbard as a player. This is not a reflection on his play so far this season. I think he's been pretty good, but something else kind of worries me about his value, and I'll explain what it is. The Panthers signed Rico Dowdle, former Dallas Cowboys running back, in free agency this offseason to be the backup to Hubbard. However, the past couple weeks, Dowdle has been taking more rushing volume out of this backfield. In fact, Dowdle's carries have increased every single week so far this season. He's gone from 3 carries in week 1 to 6 carries in week 2, and finally 10 carries in the Panthers' 30-0 blowout win over the Atlanta Falcons in week 3. His efficiency hasn't been that good this season, only 2.7 yards per carry thus far, but I'm confident with more volume, he'll be a more valuable fantasy asset and a more valuable real-life asset for the Carolina Panthers going forward. I mean, this is the same guy that put up 4.6 yards per carry and over 1,000 rushing yards last year for the Cowboys when they really needed a spark in their rushing offense. And another very important aspect of the situation, Rico Dowdle has been getting goal line carries. That's super important. It's a slight difference, but Rico Dowdle is the smaller, heavier, more compact running back of the two, so it makes sense to use him on the goal line like they have been. I mean, he even rushed one of those goal line carries in for a touchdown this week. Overall, Dowdle looked very good against Atlanta, and at the very least, he's a good handcuff running back to own, but he could be Carolina's goal line short yardage running back going forward, and that could lead to even more opportunities. So I am worried about Chuba Hubbard getting as much volume as he did last year. He's a great running back, but I don't think he's going to get the same amount of rushing attempts as he did in 2024. He'll still get that receiving volume, so I'm not all the way out on Hubbard yet, but Dowdle is a very talented player. We'll see how things shake out in a couple weeks, but if you can deal Hubbard to a fantasy manager with a hole at the running back position, I think it's worth a try if you can get some good value back. I wouldn't trade away Hubbard for less than he's worth, because I think he's still capable of some good fantasy performances. Next up, we have DJ Moore, wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. It's no secret that second-year wide receiver for the Bears, Rome Odunze, has been fantastic this season to open the year. So far, he has 27 targets and 16 receptions for 227 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. However, this could be the beginning of DJ Moore shifting back to a wide receiver 2 role to give Odunze that top alpha role in the offense. Moore only has 16 targets compared to Odunze's 27 this year. That's a pretty wide gap. It kind of reminds me of when Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver for the Seahawks, overtook the veteran DK Metcalf in his second season. I was a big fan of Rome Odunze coming out of Washington in the 2024 NFL Draft. I thought he was a really well-rounded prospect with a super high floor, and so far he's been fantastic in the NFL. So that's obviously great for the Bears, but could this mean DJ Moore taking a smaller role in the offense, similarly to how DK Metcalf did last year with the Seahawks? That may be the case. I'm not willing to totally jump the gun yet, but who knows? And if Luther Burden III, rookie wide receiver out of Missouri, takes on a larger role as well, DJ Moore could be really fighting for targets. Not to mention how much receiving volume goes to other players in this offense like DeAndre Swift, even Colston Loveland. And so far through all 3 games this season, DJ Moore has had less than 7 targets and less than 70 receiving yards. I think he's a really talented player, but if he's not getting the volume, the targets that he needs, it may be time to move on from him in fantasy football. Honestly, before the year began, I wasn't so sure that Rome Odunze would become the wide receiver 1 this year. I thought maybe in his third year he would have a bigger breakout, and then maybe it would take a year of the Ben Johnson offense being implemented for him to truly break out. But it looks like the Rome Odunze breakout is here before I expected it. So as a DJ Moore fantasy owner myself, I'm looking to trade him. Overall, if you can get some good players back for DJ Moore, I think it's worth it. Finally, we have DeAndre Swift, running back for the Chicago Bears. So far this season, DeAndre Swift has not been a strong runner between the tackles. His vision has been pretty poor this year as well behind the offensive line, so it's kind of been more of the same for Swift. He's a really good receiver, I'm not going to deny that, but the Bears might try to get rookie running back Kyle Monungai more involved as the season goes on. Who knows, maybe they'll even trade for another running back. But Swift has had no shortage of volume so far this season, and he really hasn't done a ton with it. Only 3.5 yards per carry. I know it's early, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I haven't liked what I've seen on film over the past couple of seasons with Swift, dating back to his days in Philadelphia. I wouldn't be surprised after a slow start in terms of efficiency on the ground this year if the Bears try to do something else with the backfield. It's also worth mentioning that Swift has a 59.9 offensive rating from PFF this season. That's not great, and I'd be surprised if Ben Johnson doesn't at least try to shake things up in this backfield before midseason. And maybe he's already trying to. Kyle Monungai, rookie running back, already has 13 carries over the last 2 weeks, so I would be trying to trade DeAndre Swift while his value is still relatively high. That's all I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fantasy advice like this all season long. I'm Joe, and this is Fantasy Trading Room.